You missed me? We're back in the kitchen for another video. This time, we're cooking one of my favorite decks of all time, a deck that I feel personally responsible for because I'm probably one of the only people who ever played it competitively, and that is of course Dogmatika. We love that deck. It's actually super good right now, and here's how to make it competitive. Let's cook. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're cooking Dogmatika. It's not gonna be pure, but it's gonna have a lot of really strong cards that fit really well into this deck. Also be gonna playing Ken and Gen, right? I'm literally the only person who ever played those cards. Actually, probably not. They were probably kind of popular. Yeah. Anyway, so today we're gonna be playing Dogmatika. It's gonna have a Kashtira engine, it's gonna have a Fiendsmith engine, but don't get mad, there's a good reason why we actually play those cards. If you like videos here in the kitchen, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Click the like button because, guys, it's really helpful for the channel. I promise you. And subscribe. Let's get to it. So, let's go over the deck list, and then afterwards, we're gonna do a test hand and show you how many cards we're able to rip out of our opponent's extra deck. Honestly, it's gonna be most of them. Most of your opponent's cards are gonna be gone from their extra deck. But let's look at the deck list first. Now, spoilers, Dogmatika engine. These cards are really good. However, we have better normal summons. So, this is why we don't play that many. We're playing one Dogmatika Ecclesia, mainly to search for Dogmatika Matrix, which is going to be your key card to starting off your combo. Maximus is honestly the best card here, and then Fleur because it's an additional interruption, right? Now, in addition to these three, we're going to be playing one ritual, and it's going to be Albazoa, which is going to rip 7 cards out of your opponent's extra deck turn 0. This card is incredible. It makes all of your Dogmatika monsters unaffected by monsters from the extra deck, right? All these types, not only summoned from the extra deck, just extra deck monsters. You need a Fenrir or you're not outing this board. Now, we have 3 Nadir Servant because it's one of the best cards in the game, and then 3 Dogmatika Matrix. Now, why are we playing Dogmatika Matrix? And if you don't know this, and if you haven't seen any of my Dogmatika videos, the deck kind of revolves around activating the Dogmatika Matrix second effect on turn 0. So what do I mean? This card adds a Dogmatika ritual spell or ritual monster on activation. It's a continuous, but if your opponent controls a monster, you can add an additional Dogmatika card. So during this combo, you're gonna see that we make sure we put a monster on our opponent's board ourselves. And that's gonna be happening with Ken and Gen, of course, which are nasty cards. Nasty cards. 1 ritual spell, Dogmatic Calamity, and 1 Dogmatika Punishment. Card's incredible. This is the Dogmatika engine. Now, the most important engine, and this is something that I'm gonna take credit for, that honestly I was the first one who played this in Dogmatika because I wanted to put monsters on my opponent's board. Simple as that. And this is the best way to do that. You might not know these cards, right? Gen and Ken. They were released, I think, in Photon Hypernova first with Thrust. These are like Thrust and Tactics support cards, essentially. If you summon either one of them as an ignition effect, you can summon the other one to your opponent's field. Now, when they're summoned by their counterpart's effect, they activate, right? So Gen is going to summon Ken, and Ken will activate on your opponent's field, allowing you to draw 2 cards and discard 1, right? And if you summon Gen and use it to summon Gen to your opponent's field, they send 1 card from their hand for their choice. Why do we play these ratios? Because this one can turn into an Almirage, this one cannot. They both can be searched with Reinforcement of the Army, and the effect to give you 2 cards and discard 1 is better for you than ripping 1 card of your opponent's hand. And the strategy is to resolve it on your opponent's side of the field, and then trigger your talents, your thrust, and your Kashtira Unicorn, which is going to rip more cards from your opponent's extra deck. Now, let's keep going with some supplementary spells. We have Reinforcement of the Army and Change of Heart, so we can search Ken and Gen, and then so we can take their other monster, make a rank 3, summon another monster to your opponent's field. It's broken, right? So, Kashtira engine is going to be pretty small. We're playing 1 Fenrir, 1 Unicorn, 3 Raitsoth to search either one of them, and Birth. Now, besides being really good, obviously, great monsters, bodies, effects, Unicorn is specifically good because you're going to be ripping cards from your opponent's extra deck, and you're going to be doing that a lot. Okay, it's going to be kind of broken, to be honest. We have another light engine, so we can feel comfortable with playing Dominus Purge. It is the Fiendsmith Engraver that nobody likes, but this engine is good. This is going to give you mostly like the grind game that Dogmatika kind of doesn't have, right? Dogmatika is not a super grindy deck. It's still missing some cards that could really help it. However, the Fiendsmith cards are just really, really good. There's no other way around it. You can play more hand traps here, more non-engine, more Kosturas, do whatever you want. This is just power level, right? And now, because we're playing all these, cards that activate on our opponent's side of the field, then we're going to play 3 Thrust, we're going to be playing 3 Talents, and eventually we're also going to be playing 3 Dominus Purge because our deck is mostly light monsters, okay? This and this, you're going to want to see them every hand, specifically because you're going to be wanting to activate this in addition to Ken and Ken, right? This is going to be your main strategy besides like setting up a board and Kosturas and stuff like that, right? This is your 40 card main deck. Let's go over the extra deck real quick. Mostly like a Dogmatika extra deck, right? We have Almirage, which is actually really important with the Dogmatikas. You can turn the Gen into this, right? And then you're going to be able to turn this into this. You can summon it. It's another Link 1 that requires a Cybros Link monster, right? It puts a Link in your graveyard so you can banish it with Maximus. That's basically the logic there. It's a good card. It's really like a Dogmatika card, right? Fiendsmith Engine, not super interesting. We have everything that we need here, basically. We also have Caesar. And then we have some Dogmatika, Nadir Servant, Punishment stuff, 1 Garura, 1 Ents, 1 Titanic Lad, 1 Bamboozling Shadow. This is going to give you a negate if you manage to steal your opponent's Gen or Ken, right? It's a rank 3 that turns a monster effect into both players draw 1 card. So it also affects unaffected monsters. 1 DDD, and then lastly the Synchros, 1 to search your rituals, and then 2 to summon your Ecclesia or your Fleur-de-Lis directly from the deck. Let's do a test hand and see how this deck actually operates. Right, so let's draw our Farfakite hand here. It's not really like a 1 card combo deck, right? But it's mainly like for you to see the different routes you can take in this deck. So we have Thrust, Matrix, Wraitsoth, Gen, and a Deer Servant. Pretty solid overall. Let me show you how we're gonna be starting this combo. And honestly, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is activate Wraitsoth because we're gonna be needing to normal summon in a second, right? So we might as well get ourselves a Unicorn. We're gonna special the Unicorn to the field, activate the effect, and grab ourselves the Birth. You can already place that on the field. It doesn't really matter. Now, this is still our hand. We're gonna be normal summoning here. Gen, activate the effect, and we're gonna be summoning Gen to our opponent's side of the field. Now, our opponent's Gen is gonna activate on their field, letting us draw 2 and discard 1. Let's shuffle and see what we get. We already have a very solid hand, but the Dogmatikas are gonna come and play in a second. You're gonna see the power of Dogmatika Matrix here. Draw 2 and discard 1. God, whew. Probably, I wanna go all gas here, so I'm probably gonna discard the Purge here, to be honest. Yeah, let's discard the Purge. Now, we can Change of Heart, Ken. We can activate Ken here to summon Gen to our opponent's side of the field. It's gonna activate, and then we're gonna be ripping a card from their hand. And then we're gonna be ripping our first extra card with Unicorn. This is very important, right? Now, we're gonna go into something that is gonna insulate us from Nibiru, which is gonna be number 75, Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. And now we are free to get locked out of the extra deck. We're gonna put it here in the extra monster zone. And now we're gonna get cooking, okay? Our opponent has a monster on the board. We have Thrust, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna use it for still. We are gonna go into Deer Servant here. The Deer Servant is gonna grab us, I'm gonna send Garura, grab a Maximus, and we're gonna draw an additional card from Garura, which is gonna be a blank, doesn't really matter. It's gonna be Engraver, I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna go all out. Maybe, we'll see. So we have Engraver and a Dear Servant is in the graveyard, and we have Maximus here. Now, the beautiful part here is that we're gonna be activating Dogmatika Matrix, and now our opponent has a card on the field. So we can add a ritual monster or spell, and then in addition to that, another Dogmatika card, because our opponent controls a monster. This is why you want to have Gen and Can here, right? So we have an extra deck monster on the board. We're gonna be locking ourselves out of the extra deck right now, and we're gonna be special summoning Ecclesia and activating the effect. We're gonna be grabbing any Dogmatika card here, and it's gonna be Punishment. Now, Maximus is gonna summon. We're gonna be banishing Garura, and then what we're gonna do is activate Maximus here, okay? We already ripped one out of our opponent's extra deck. We're gonna be sending this, and honestly, like, I'm not really sure like what we can send. It's gonna be Titanic Lid for now, it's fine. Then we're gonna be able to trigger, now our opponent is down to 12 cards in their extra deck, by the way, okay? We're gonna be able to search the ritual spell with Herald, and then we can activate Calamity, send a level 12 directly from the extra deck to summon Albazoa, right? And now Albazoa is going to activate, and since our opponent has 12 cards in their extra deck, okay, they need to send, and they have 4 cards in hand, they're gonna need to send 6 cards from hand or extra deck to the graveyard. Let's say they're going full extra deck, they have only 6 cards left in their extra deck after this effect. But then, there's more. Because we have Dogmatika Matrix. If you control a Dogmatika Ritual monster, you can look at your extra deck or your opponent's extra deck and send 1 card. We're gonna bring them down to 5, okay? Lastly, we're gonna activate Talents here, Thrust, of course, to grab us Talents, to look at the hand and leave them on 3 cards in hand. 5 cards in extra deck, 3 cards in hand, and they're facing this board, right? And not even Dogmatika Punishment, and we haven't even activated our Engraver that we drew. We really didn't need to. If you want to take this deck to locals, this is going to be such a fun and honestly strong deck to play. Like, look at this end board. Your opponent has 3 in hand, 5 in extra deck. That's nuts. This is Dogmatika with Gen and Can, Kashtira, and Fiendsmith. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you want to be back in the kitchen next week, you just gotta comment down below, right? Thank you so much. Like the video, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.